Whenever you're ready, bud.
All right, we're good to go. We're live. We're ready to go. And hope everybody that the half a dozen people that will end up seeing this, hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. We are back in the lovely January of 2025, and gonna just briefly go over Week 17 and get into Week 18 and get ready for Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah. Week 17. I think the biggest shock was the fucking Giants winning a damn game. Um, and not just winning, dominating.
Yeah.
So,
On one
um,
hand, it's nice to see them winning and winning very well.
but where was this?
Yeah, and why are you doing this now?
Right,
When
because that bumped us down from the number one pick to the number four. And obviously, week 18, as it wrapped up, um, New England beating Bills, which is strategic, which is kind of funny because the Bills only played Josh Allen one play, a handoff to James Cook, and then he went out, and New England beat the Bills. And with New England beating the Bills, they screwed themselves out of the number one pick. So kudos to the Bills for playing that mind game
yeah,
because that they dropped from number one to like number 4 or 5. Like it just, or even deeper. Like it was like deeper, like balls deep. Um,
like a
so you know, she's asking for more, and you're like, "This is all I got. There's no more."
yeah,
Uh,
go
but
deeper. I can't go any deeper.
but that was just a mind game. I thought was kind of clever by Sean McDermott. Like you go to play the game, you go to win. Like I get it 100%. But we've seen teams do it a few times where they tank, right? I mean, look at the. I don't say the 0-16 Lions tank. They were just a horrible team. You remember that team?
Yeah, you don't do 0-16 by tanking.
No,
You
you
just
do once.
fucking
That takes some effort to not
yeah.
win a single game.
You might win by which I think is what happened with the Giants. They won one by accident.
Yeah, whoops.
you know.
But they do hold the number 3 overall pick, so it's not a bad draft position. Um, some news: the Giants are retaining Joe Shane and Brian Daboll for next year.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that
So
up.
they, which I could have gone either way. I like Joe Shane. He proved himself drafting. Because the Giants rookie class really played out. I mean, the record doesn't show it, but they were an impressive rookie class. It's not very often where you find a group of rookies to learn a system that fast, and can be depended on for week one starters. And they
And you know
were.
what? And you know what? When the Maras and the office were deciding what to do, they probably looked at that
Oh
and
yeah,
said, that going into the season, we didn't expect much, and it showed. Um, but as long as there's improvement and show that they drafted well, then it's like, okay, like we're going into the draft with at that time probably the first overall pick, now the third. Good draft position.
yes, you'll be
Like
able to get a good player. I mean, now the question is, do you draft a quarterback, or do you draft this young talent named Travis Hunter out of Colorado, who plays both sides of the ball, and who is probably the best player in college football right now? Um,
I mean, I would definitely say go with the best available player, but because it's like how many times have, or especially over the last 10 years, did teams draft quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, first pick, second pick, third pick overall,
and nothing.
and nothing.
Right.
It's like I'd rather you bring in a veteran and draft a quarterback in the second round, a a good serviceable quarterback, have him learn from the veteran, and then 3 years later, the veteran's leaving, and you're good to go. You're ready to go. Instead of just throwing him to the fucking wolves. You
No,
know,
we've seen it with not New England, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers for I think 2 or 3 years. And that time they proved that team proved that it's necessary for development. To sit behind, ask the questions, study the film that that the defenses are doing. And now look, Green Bay is in the playoffs, right? Under second year starter Jordan Love.
yeah,
Um, so Giants, I would be because I like the free agency, and Giants will have approximately, I think, just under 60 million going into free agency. If they cut two or three veteran players that are aging, that don't have a huge cap hit but will relieve some cap, they can get almost like 70, 75 million um to go into free agency with. And that's what I expect the Giants to do, is cut Graham Gano, who's got definitely some cap relief. I expect them to cut Nones Raches. Um and I expect them those are the two, because Daniel Jones is already gone. So he was the biggest cap hit. So they should be pushing around 70 if they cut those two players off. And that's a decent amount going into free agency, and you got a really good draft pick. So you can go out there and look at the free agent quarterbacks. That's which I am like, I'm not giving up on Justin Fields. He's a free agent next year. I think he'll do well under Brian Dable. Because he's a mobile quarterback. He did start in the Steelers, and he went like 4-2 and then got swapped out or something. Like, it was incredible. Like, they swapped, they started Russell Wilson over him, and it wasn't even because he was doing bad. But it was, but that's what I would like the Giants to do, is grab Justin Fields in at free agency, because he won't want a huge contract. I don't think he'll probably be friendly because he knows he's not going to get that huge deal.
yeah, and I don't think if I think the Giants learned, let's not throw $160 million at somebody.
Listen
You
to
know,
that. Yeah.
it's like, if it was Brady, I understand. If it was Peyton, I understand. Now, if it was fucking Joe Montana, I understand.
It was
But they
Daniel Jones.
also have a history. They were established at that time. You know, Daniel Jones, respectfully, and whatever quarterback they bring in our free agency going forward, like, guys, we can't do this again. Like, you're good. That's why we're bringing you in, but we're not giving you 120, 150, 160 million dollars. So
No. You draft the right players, you get a quarterback, you invest in the O line again. I think first round you draft the best player available, right? So New England's in quarterback needy spot, so we're not New England Titans. So I expect them to draft a quarterback. Um, who's got the second? Browns. I got the second pick. So they're not in need of a quarterback, but that's where I think Travis Hunter may go. And if he goes to the Browns, you know, that won't be good for him. I like to,
hey,
I like to see the Giants draft him. Cornerback is a need, but this guy can play both sides of the ball, so they can throw a little trickery. Occasionally on the offense.
yeah, and at the same time, you're in a position with the third pick that when you grab the best available player, um, and if you're not sold on a quarterback, don't draft a quarterback.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you have to be like 75, 80% certain. Like, we could do something with him. And then let him learn. But if you're not like, these guys are, don't do it. Grab somebody else. Because you're just gonna fuck it yourself and everybody else over. So,
Which the Browns may do what Browns do. They may draft another quarterback, even though they made the worst trade ever in NFL history.
and the Browns being the Browns.
We shouldn't be shocked.
I feel shocked.
We shouldn't be though.
Yep.
So we'll have to
The-
see where, free agency when that starts in April and then the draft. But playoff wise, everything's set. Seating is set as we predicted. Or no, Kansas City's got the number one on the AFC. Lions got the number one in the NFC.
Which, speaking of Kansas City, that's another one that I bookmarked from Week 18. Did they just freaking phone it in? Completely losing to fucking getting shut out by Denver.
Denver is playing good, but Kansas City didn't play starters. I'm not saying that was no excuse, but I was reading and they were wondering, or some people were wondering if the Chiefs allowed Denver to win because they were scared of the Bengals getting into the playoffs.
I
So
mean,
with Denver winning, Bengals are out. So
it's a good way to fuck with the competition, but like fuck you, you're staying out there. But
so
to
38
get blown
nothing.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So Denver has to play Buffalo, I believe,
Yeah.
in
Yep.
the wild card weekend. And I'm going to go with Buffalo. I'm going to go with experience here. Denver's a young team. They are explosive. Uh, but Buffalo, or not Buffalo, but Josh Allen is special. And they got to stop him. If they don't stop him, Denver don't stand a chance.
Yeah, Buffalo's too good right now. So, and Denver's not good enough to take him down. So, I'm with you with the Bills.
I think they make it a game, but I think the Bills just prove too much.
All right. So, since you started wild card weekend off, before I could say anything,
Sorry.
uh, Chargers Texans Saturday games.
So, Chargers, you got Texans who are a good team, but they lost Tank Dell a few weeks ago. I'm going to go with the Chargers in an upset.
Uh, yeah, to be different, I'll go with the Texans.
Okay.
Just to be different.
Yeah.
And
Dare to
I
be
like
different.
I like the Oilers. I mean Texans more than the Chargers. So, Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
See, it's hard to
Giggity.
beat a division team 3 times in a row. If any team's going to do it, it's going to be the Ravens. But I think the Ravens are going to get beat by the Steelers.
So you're going with Pittsburgh.
I'm going Pittsburgh. I already know who you're probably going
And
with. It's like,
the fact that Baltimore did beat Pittsburgh 2 times in a row, and they always seemed hotter than Pittsburgh. I'm sticking with Baltimore. Um, like you said, if any team can do it, it'll be Baltimore. Yeah, got nothing else to add on that.
good conversation.
Yeah, good talk. The second Sunday game, Green Bay at Philadelphia.
Well, Green Bay just lost one of their wide receivers to a torn ACL. Um, well, I'm going to still go with Green Bay.
Are you going Green Bay?
I think the starters not playing in week 18 will hurt.
You know, as much as it pains me to say, I'm still going with Philly. I I am not sold on Green Bay, and I'm sold a little bit more on Philadelphia. But with that said, nothing will make me happier than watch them lose.
Yeah.
So, but I just think I feel more comfortable going Philly right now. Third Sunday game: Washington versus Tampa Bay.
This is where I think Washington gets their revenge against Tampa Bay. I'm going Washington.
Me too.
Wow, we finally agree. Well, two teams we agreed.
Yeah, and part of it too for me picking Philadelphia is I want to see the NFC East divisional round. So chance of it anyway.
Right.
But Monday game: Minnesota versus the Rams.
Rams.
Damn, think about it. And I'm going Minnesota.
Minnesota got exposed.
Kind of like you when you were drunk in Austin, just exposing yourself.
Sixth Street will get you.
And so, uh, yeah, we'll see what happens here. The wild card round. You know, Kansas City, Detroit on Saturday. Whoever plays them, and wait to see on Sunday for next
Yeah.
Sunday. Um, what did you think of the season so far? Up to going into the wild card round.
Um, I think the biggest shock is the Vikings doing as well as they did overall in the season. Um, other than that, the season pretty much played out. I think really how we saw, how we might, in Washington too as well. Between Minnesota and Washington, how well those teams did. Um, that's I think the biggest like takeaway from the whole season is you got two surprise teams. Sam Darnold, revived his career playing lights off football. Jaden Daniels proven to be that guy for Washington. So, you know, now if they can maintain, that'll be the question going into the next year.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, especially for Washington, I'd hate for it to be an absolute fluke for them.
Right.
You know, I hope
Getting
they could build off of it at least.
that sophomore slump.
Yeah, they don't even have to get better. Just if you maintain, like okay, and then keep going.
You maintain and build.
So another, I don't know, elephant in the room maybe. Did you watch Raw's Netflix?
I did.
What did you think?
Um, I know it being the first Raw, they had what 4 matches, 5 matches. So, thought it was kind of funny. I fell asleep towards the end, being sick and all. Um, but I saw The Rock. Um, I saw the Roman Reigns match. I woke up and I watched the CM Punk Seth Rollins match.
It was a really good match.
Yeah, they put on a good show. I mean, was I a little upset that CM Punk won? Yeah. But that's just gonna make Seth Rollins, I guess these are two baby faces going at it. And I don't know what the WWE season CM Punk. I was never really a huge fan of him. He's got a good mouth when he comes to like shooting. I get that 100%. Um, and that's what's really driving his career. And really when Triple H, I don't know if you remember, like 10 years, 12 years ago, probably right before Triple H went to like part-time wrestling, where he called out CM Punk saying the reason why you got to where you are is because you acted like a martyr.
Yeah.
Why is it not me? And he just called it flat out, right? And he used it as storyline material. So I thought that was like, not only was it semi true, but I was like, damn, he went there, like to make it a little personal, make you guys feel it a little more. And I kind of look at it like, you know what, CM Punk did do that. Like, why am I not in there? Like, he kept doing that. And I'm not saying he's not a main eventer. He proved himself he can be, you know, but I'm just not the biggest fan of CM Punk. That's just my take on it. So it's like you are not the biggest fan of John Cena.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you know, the character of John Cena, I'm not a fan of. The guy John Cena seems like a really awesome dude.
yeah. I mean, the
Um,
character John Cena. I mean, you're never a fan from him. Since pretty much like day one.
um, no, I've talked about it with you. When John Cena came up, I was like, oh, this kid looks good. And then he had that win over
So,
that surprise win. And what lost me was the whole chain gang soldier friggin', kind of character. And I get it. They were trying to find out what to do with him, and then all of a sudden they found out he could rap. So they ran with it, said, "What? Fuck it, let's go with it. Why not?" And you always grab your opportunity when you can,
and
and
he
he made
ran
the
with
most.
it. Yeah,
He made it.
now I think
Um,
it'd be fitting. Speaking of John Cena, um, to make sure at his retirement tour, that he wins the belt at least one more time.
yeah, when he give him something on his way out as a thank you, he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, for what he's
Um,
done for the business, for what he's done for like Make a Wish,
yeah,
and all that. Like, give him what he deserves. And he right now he's tied with Ric Flair for what he's all done. He deserves to be that guy in my eyes. You could disagree with that, but I think he truly deserves that.
yeah. Just from him being seemingly like genuinely a really good guy, he has my respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
you just don't like the
I didn't
persona,
like
the chain
I
game
didn't like
persona.
yeah I didn't like that at first, but then after as it toned down, you know, instead of trying to make him the white Eddie Guerrero, um,
Get
you
him the
know,
white Eddie Guerrero.
yeah, they were joking about it. The Rock calling him a Fruit Loop, and him taking it with stride and laughing about it. I'm like, you know what? I've come around to John Cena. Um, will I ever put him in the same breath or up in the same tier as Ric Flair, Austin, The
I
Rock,
think
Bret Hart? No, he's not. He's not even up close to the top of my list. But he definitely deserves the respect. You know, um, So he's his generation's goat.
he
You know
is.
what I mean?
Um, and I hope Brock Lesnar comes back this year. Um, he's practically had an entire year off. Um,
And they had to give him some time away. With the whole being pulled into the whole Vince McMahon bullshit.
yeah. So, um, Raw, being the most consecutive, you know, show on air. I think they're on, over 1,000 episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like well over, like it's insane. And then to go from cable TV to Netflix now. They just went worldwide in that
Yeah, oh,
move.
yeah, definitely.
So I think it was a smart move going to Netflix. Wasn't a fan of the stage. I like
I
the
thought
ring.
so.
I like the ring. I like the low interest ramp. I don't know if it's because of the arena they were in.
That could be it.
Um, but I'm always a fan of a Titantron. You know, consider me old school, but I always liked, a big screen where you can, see who's coming. But
As somebody pointed out that at least with the stage screens, it reminded them of like that 2003 to 2005 Raw.
yeah, minus that, obviously the Titantron, but yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
saying. Like yep.
like the backdrop and everything. It
Yes,
kind of gave
yes.
that 2003 2004 vibe, which is again that minus the 90s. That was like my second era of watching. So
I definitely, watching the old school Raw where it was just a giant screen, how far they've come. I'm kind of glad, they didn't do any AI stuff. Um, that kind of, I think, it's cool that where you can do that. Um, but, I think it's just makes it you're trying to portray to an audience. And I think you're going to win. Now going to Netflix, you're going to get some of the older people like myself and you. Um, like, okay, now if you didn't notice, there was no rating.
yeah,
And The Rock said bullshit and no bleep. So
yeah. And I was talking, Katie, who started watching wrestling because of me, and her brother-in-law, who's a wrestling fan, Steven, we met at the wedding. Um, Kind of talking about it. It's like not that when they went to Netflix or we're going to Netflix, that we expected like a bra and panty match right off the bat, you know. Um, but the fact that now they have the freedom that if a bullshit comes out or somebody accidentally says fuck
they don't got to worry
or
about it.
Booker T accidentally dropping the N bomb,
97.
that they don't have to, they're not going to get like, oh my God, thrown off the air because of it. You know what I mean?
Vince
Um,
dropped one. You remember that?
yeah, in his do rag ECW
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. How you doing?
But
Hold it down. Hold it down. Oh yeah, my. When I saw that, I mean, I didn't. I you've been more of a proponent of sticking with watching wrestling. I mean, obviously when we were deployed, couldn't watch it as much. We missed probably a lot.
yeah,
Um, but Vince McMahon in his ECW days were kind of it's almost a little comical.
yeah, it was
You know,
complete joke. It had to be complete disrespect. There's no other expectation. Like he was doing that to be a dick.
yeah. I mean, mind you, now you probably know this that Paul Heyman and Vince are always been close friends, regardless of competition. Paul Heyman used to take photographs for Vince Senior. Um, so do you remember that shoot that he did on an old SmackDown where he's where he shot on Vince McMahon for about 9 minutes, saying like, you made wrestling a dirty word because you want superstars. ECW was about wrestlers, and your father, said, or no, Vince said he wouldn't run out the competition. The first thing he did when his dad stepped down is he ran out the competition. And, you know, I watch Inside the Ropes. I don't know if you do or not, but I caught there's a good episode where Paul Heyman gets asked that about that shoot because it's pretty famous. He said um, I would say shocking stuff. Vince, all he cared about was like, will it make him money? He didn't ask what Paul was going to say, and he's like, all right. And for 9 minutes, he just belittled Vince McMahon. And then they wanted to get Taz incorporated, so he called him Um, not a good color commentator at that. And then Taz locked him in the Taz mission, and all that. That whole invasion angle, like I was a fan of it, but now that I looked more and more on it, it was like it seemed rushed. You know,
it, it was, and
like you got all this
what one thing
talent from. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
uh, I was gonna say one thing. You have Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman is gold. Give him a microphone and let him go, because he will say the greatest things. Just
And he
let Paul
proved
Heyman go.
and he proved it in ECW. I
And
mean,
he's still proving it.
yeah.
Like his Hall
Well,
of Fame induction, he proved it.
he I think he's earned the respect to be like, hey, we give you a microphone, you could say whatever you want. Like you've been in here, you've proven yourself to us, you've ran a business. They didn't, he didn't run it bad. I think WWE just bought him out.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure looking back, and this is no judgment, he made mistakes, just like everybody else does. Vince made mistakes. Eric Bischoff made mistakes.
Not as many as Eric
But
Bischoff, though. He signed a lot of people to big contracts, or Ted
yeah,
Turner did.
yeah.
And then, like, when the invasion happened, like, I don't know about you, but I was wondering, I'm like, okay, you got all these mid carders, right? I mean, wrestlers remember from watching Thunder and Nitro and all that. And I'm like, where's Nash? Where's Hall? Like, where's Hogan? Like, where are these guys? And then
Again,
watching again, another Inside the Ropes.
they're getting paid more to stay at home,
Yeah, they fulfilled their contract. They like, why, I should just get paid and not beat up my body. So they just stayed at home.
which is I can't blame them for that.
No,
You know,
you know,
I can't blame Nash for not wanting to tear another quad. Like
no, Nash. I mean, obviously we know Nash and Hogan and Hall were up there. They weren't going to be around very long. Maybe a couple years max, right?
and then Hogan went on to be there for like another almost 10 years, which hearing him get booed was kind of weird and crazy and funny.
Yeah, I didn't know how to feel. Like I saw a reel and I was like, Hogan got booed. Even with Jimmy Hart out there, Jimmy Hart, could even save him. But,
Yeah.
I watched the pop and I was like, okay, people are cheering. But then he started talking and it's like, nope. Like they respect what he's done for the business, but it's like they
Is
don't
it?
respect the man.
It's like,
Terry, his real name. My mom back in like 2000 met the guy when she wanted on a cruise to the Bahamas. I think it was in this time of in between WCW, 2000 when no, that happened in 2001, whatever. But Hogan was in the Bahamas, and my mom watched kids go up to him, and if it was probably anyone else, I would have think, yeah, you take a couple pictures, give the kiddies a good smile, all right, let me spend time with my family. But Hogan just totally dismissed him off, like he's a dick I guess in real life.
yeah, it's like Hulk Hogan, the character, the eat your vitamins, say your prayers, to, you know, this is the new world order of wrestling, brother,
Yeah,
to him coming back and, you know, Mr. America, or, and so whenever, that there's the character Hulk Hogan, and then there's Terry Bollea, who, if anybody drank the Hulkamania Kool-Aid, it was Hulk Hogan himself.
yeah. But
And
what was I going to say with this? I don't know. Like you would think sometimes wrestlers would stay in character, right? If they're out in public, just to kind of win them over. Like like Taker in the mid '90s or early '90s, he would dress in all black everywhere he went. He stayed in character. Call it a choice by him, but I thought that was pretty smart. Like, you're not going to see, Mark Calloway out there, him just being a normal guy. You see him in 98, 99 walking around and he's dressing all black. That motherfucker, that's the Undertaker. That's
yeah,
the guy who fucking will take your soul. Like, I don't know about you. Well, when they had the Ministry of Darkness going on, that they had me believing.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean,
And I think the closest take that Taker was ever to Taker in real life was when he was American Badass.
Yeah, I would say like it's probably
Yeah,
more of it. I could see that being more of his persona, riding motorcycles, kind of being that, and he went with it, and he won it, and it worked for him,
yeah,
right? And he won, and then he was Big Evil, which I actually like that Undertaker over the American Badass one, the Big Evil, because he still had the persona of American Badass, rode the bike, but he was just no matter what Taker did to try to be a heel, there was always that crowd that just cheered him.
yeah. It's just Taker.
You know, that's the utmost respect. Like he, was doing everything. I don't know about you, but like if someone throws somebody off almost like a 20-foot cell and goes through and announce the table and he busts his shoulder up and shouldn't probably wrestle that match. And you know, was that scripted? Yeah. Did it go the way it was supposed to? Absolutely not. Um,
I mean, you're throwing Mick Foley off the top of a cell. It's not, no matter how much you plan for it, it's not going to go the way you think.
no, and this is Mick Foley too. Like Mick Foley, he doesn't come off to me as a very athletic guy. Like in the late '80s, early '90s, this dude used to be cut, right? I mean, like you remember his old, WCW days, like early '90s. He was in shape.
Yeah,
And when he got to Mankind, he had this gut. Was he still strong? Yeah, I mean, he had to do a certain amount of stuff, but he didn't have the physique of a a wrestler that you would think, like a Rock or a Stone Cold.
yeah. He's never going to go tit for tat body with Mark Jindrak or Sean O'Hare. You know what I mean? Like
Rest in
that's
peace.
not who Mick Foley is.
Rest in peace, Sean O'Hare.
Yes, and that's something you need to know.
What's that?
What was his phrase? And
Oh,
now
I'm
you
not
know.
telling. I'm not telling you anything you don't
Yeah,
already
anything you
know.
don't already know.
That was my senior
It
quote. That was my senior quote.
not telling you anything you already don't know.
Yeah, for Sean O'Hare, because he was like, dude was like 6'6" and doing the swanton off the rope. You didn't see this. This guy was cut like a guy probably weighed 250, 260, and he's jumping around like a high flyer.
Oh, I like Sean O'Hare.
Yeah,
I always did. I liked him in WCW, and I liked him when he came to WWE or went to WWE. Like if you're starting a wrestling company, wrestling promotion, and you could hire Sean O'Hare, you hire Sean fucking O'Hare.
yeah. It's like the
Like
same thing with like,
he's what you want.
yeah, it's like Test.
Yeah.
Test. Again, rest in peace. They had some big plans with Test. They kept him mid card for a while, and he took it. I mean, yeah, he got into some bad shit, but I always liked Test. He was a really good heel.
Yeah.
Another big guy, 6'6", 6'7".
Excellent shape. But yeah, back to Hogan. Yeah, he was. After all his shit talking, after all the drama, when the music hits, people friggin' pop, right? You hear that now. It's like, oh my god, friggin' Hogan's here, and then you realize Hogan's here.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Hogan's here. God dang it. Okay, now we gotta listen to this guy.
and all I could think of is, two things. One, poor Jimmy Hart. I got to meet Jimmy Hart at Comic-Con, and he was one of the nicest people I ever was able to talk to. He was just genuinely a nice man. But the second thing I thought was that had to be a TKO decision.
Yeah, that was.
It was WWE probably had they're like, we could have had anybody else. Shawn Michaels is here. You know what I mean? Like friggin' Stone Cold could have came out. Friggin' like they could have brought out anybody.
They brought Hogan.
And they brought out Hogan. And I get it. It's friggin' Hogan. You know, when you say, oh, name the top 3 wrestlers. Hulk Hogan's gonna be ask your average person. They're gonna say Hulk Hogan, The Rock, John Cena. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, oof.
I bet you Hogan had something to say after when he got backstage. Like he probably wasn't anticipating that, and he's like, "Man, that's maybe a little humbling moment for Hulk Hogan."
And you know what? Like, maybe it should have came like, after like 15 years of humbling moments. Maybe Hogan needs to understand. But he'll always be the Hulkster.
Yep.
So, but anyway, American Badass Taker coming out with Rhea Ripley and her cake.
You like cake?
I like cake. So yeah, what do any thoughts with the Netflix deal going forward?
No. I think it'll be good. Hey, Mav.
Hey, Maverick. And there's a kitchen. Oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
That's a bathroom, by the way.
Oh, I wasn't sure it was so far away. I wasn't sure if it was a kitchen or another room. Or...
No, what you just saw was my little man corner. You got the giant stuff up. Things like that over there. Well, I hate to cut this short, but I'm gonna let you go. It's catching up with me.
Yeah, man, get your rest, feel better, drink that
Yeah,
tea. Oh, look at kitty.
it's Leo. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at the kitty.
Yep.
Hey, give the kitty some love.
Oh, trust me, Maverick does.
Yeah.
All right, man. You have
All
a
right,
good
bud.
one. Thank you again.
Thank you, bud.
Yeah,
Get your
no
rest
problem.
and feel better, man.
Yeah, take my vitamins.
Yeah, say your prayers.
Yep.
What you got to do, brother.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Deuces, bud.
Yeah.